In this video, we are going to go over how to solve two-step equation word problems. Now, I'm going to go over these word problems in the same way that I would hope that you study word problems either currently or in the future after watching this. And that is, a lot of people will solve out one word problem at a time, struggle through it, finally figure out what equation works for it, solve the equation, and then go on to the next word problem. I would rather you practice word problems by defining a variable and setting up an equation, as I'll show you how to do shortly, and then moving on to the next word problem and repeating that process. Defining a variable, setting up an equation. In that way, you'll be drilling yourself, practicing yourself on the difficult part of translating from words to an equation. That's called mathematical fluency. So after that, you then go back and solve the equations, which is a skill that you will have learned before doing these word problems. So let me show you what I mean. We have this first word problem that says you sell t-shirts for a fundraiser and spend $80 on the shirts and other necessary materials. Okay, if we've spent 80 bucks, it sounds like we're subtracting 80 from something. Probably. So just kind of keep that in your head or just kind of put a little note. I'll put down a minus 80. Translating as I read, picking out that information. You sell each shirt for 12 bucks. Each shirt is $12 or $12 per shirt. So I'm going to put that down as $12 per shirt, and I'll write down S for the number of shirts. And want to make a profit of 400. That sounds like a total, right? So I'm just kind of writing down fragments of ideas, right? The total profit is 400 bucks. And profit means the total amount of money you've brought in minus the total amount of money you've spent. Profit is what you make after accounting for how much money you've spent. How many shirts must you sell to reach your goal? Okay, so the question here tells us what our variable is. It's going to be the number of shirts. So I need a variable for that. I've kind of already written it here. So let's let S equal the number of shirts sold. So number of shirts sold, or number of shirts that you need to sell. So that's our variable. Now, if we think about it, I have $12 per shirt that I make, but I spend $80 total. So the amount of money I make minus the amount of money that I spend will give me the total amount of money I have in the end, the profit. So the amount of money I make is the $12 for each shirt. So that's going to be 12S, subtract the total money that I make by the total amount of money I've spent, and that should equal out to our profit or our goal of $400. So you don't have to write out these fragments here. This is just my brain coming out on the board at you so you see the ideas and thoughts that I'm holding there. Now that we have that translation, we can go and solve it. I'm not going to do that yet. As I said in the beginning of the video, I want you to just get this part down. Do the translation, come back and solve it at the end. So let's now translate this one and then we'll come back and solve the rest of the problems. I know it's a little different than how you're taught, but the reason being, I want you to practice the hard part, the translations. A boat goes out on tours 2 times per day. So right away, 2 times per day gives me the idea that it's 2 per day, or 2 times D. That's just a thought in my head that I'm holding there, and has already completed 100 tours to date. So I'll say that we start with 100 total tours. Me again, just translating. The boat needs maintenance after 150 tours. That sounds like a total, so we want to equal out to 150. How many days from now until the boat needs maintenance? Well, let's think about this. That equation is going to come from first a definition of a variable. How many days from now until the boat needs maintenance tells me that D is the number of days. So D equals the number of days. And depending on your teacher, they might want you to write out the word number instead of just using a pound sign or a hashtag. Okay, so now if we did 2 trips or 2 tours per day, we're going to use that 2D idea. On top of the 2 trips per day, which is what we will be making, the total tours we will make, we have already done 100. So I take the total tours I've done, which is 100, add on to that the amount I'll do, 2 per day. So let's add them together. And we want to know when that total, the amount I've gone on plus the amount I will go on, will equal 150, which is when the maintenance will happen. And that's it. So that's what you practice, is the setups of the equation, peeps. Please follow this idea. You will get so much better at practicing this stuff. It's just like in any sport or in any musical instrument or in video games, whatever it is that you're doing. Let's use a sport, for instance. If you're a basketball player, you're going to take free throw after free throw after free throw. You're not going to wait until the game to practice it and go through the whole game just to get a few free throw shots. You drill the components of what you're doing, the parts of what you're doing. Just like in musical instruments, I play the drums. Right? I'm not going to play full set lists and long songs if I need to work on one part of a song. I'll just work that one part of a song again and again and again. So now we go back and we solve everything out. So I undo the order of operations here by adding 80 to both sides, just solving a two-step equation. And what I have remaining now is that this cancels, and we're left with 12S, the number of shirts, equals $480. Then I divide both sides by 12 to undo the multiplication by 12, and 480 divided by 12 is 40. So the number of shirts we must sell is 40 shirts. Depending on your teacher, they might ask you to rewrite that as a full sentence. I must sell 40 shirts to reach my goal. You could check that answer. Well, if I do 40 times 12, that's $480 minus the $80 that we spent gives us our $400 profit. All right, on to this problem here. We're going to solve this one in much the same way we did that one, except we'll have to subtract 100 to undo plus 100. And that cancels out here, leaving us with 2D is equal to 150 minus 100 is a 50. Divide both sides by 2 to undo multiplication by 2. Oh yeah. And then we're left with D is equal to 25, and it's 25 days. So again, you might need to write that in a whole sentence and say, it'll be another 25 days from the current point in time until I need maintenance on my boat. There you have it, folks, how to solve two-step equation word problems by translating them, and more importantly, how to practice it efficiently when you do your homework to get the best bang for your mental buck.